Okay, so when we're factoring a quadratic expression that has a coefficient in front of the x squared, the first two steps are to multiply a and c. So we're going to find the coefficient of the x squared, which is a, times the constant term, which is c. We're going to multiply those together, and that gives me 120, negative 120. So then I want to find two numbers which add to b, which is negative 7, and multiply to give me a times c. Now, sometimes these numbers, the number you're trying to find, gives you a really big product, and so you have a lot of options. So I wanted to show you something called following the sums that will help you hone in on what the right pair of factors is that you're trying to find. Now, the way you do this is you start by picking a number you know goes into negative 120. And I think you've all done this before. So if I want a number that goes into negative 120, I see that ends in a 0. So I might say 10 goes into that. So 10 goes into it, 12 goes into it. And I want those numbers to add to negative 7. One of them has to be positive, one of them has to be negative, right? Because it multiplies to give me negative 120. So I'm going to make the bigger one negative, because the sum then will be negative. And the sum of that is negative 2. Well, that's not what I wanted. So clearly this pair doesn't work. However, I'm not going to ignore the fact that I got that pair, okay? I'm going to hold on to that, because when I try another pair, when I get the sum, it's going to tell me if I'm going in the right direction or not. Here's what I mean by that. I might look at that and go, well, 10 goes into it, I know 5 will. So let me try 5. 5 goes into 120, let's see, 24 times. I make the bigger one negative, because we want a negative sum. And that's going to give me negative 19. Okay, so clearly that's still not the right one. However, if you notice, the sum here was negative 2. The sum here was negative 19. The sum I wanted was negative 7. It's in between those two. So that means the numbers that I want to use are somewhere in between 10 and 5. So I might look at that and go, hey, I know 6 works in 120 with negative 20. That's negative 14. Oh, well, that didn't work. However, I do know that the number I'm looking for is somewhere between this pair and this pair, because negative 7 is between negative 2 and negative 4. So I'm going to find a number between 6 and 10 now that will go into it. So I'm going to try 8. And when I try 8, it goes in there negative 15 times, and that is the one I want. So basically, you should keep up with the sums as you're trying the factors, because that will help you figure out if you actually are headed in the right direction or not. If you basically get to a point where you can't find any numbers, like the sums are closing in on something, but there's no numbers in between, you know the thing doesn't factor. So we'll actually go into the factoring part in the following videos. For now, I'd like you to do a follow the sums thing to see if you can find the two numbers that multiply to 400 that add to give you 41. Pause the video, and then I will do it so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to start with a number that I know easily goes into 400. So I see 10 easily. So that would be 10 and 40, because I want them both to be positive, because the multiplication has to be positive, and they have to add to a positive number. When the multiplication is positive, they have to be the same sign. So when I add these together, I get 50. That's not right. However, doesn't mean I'm like lost. So let's see. I know 20 goes into 400, and it goes in there 20 times. When I add those together, it gives me 40. Again, not right, but I passed the sum that I wanted. So somewhere between 10 and 20 is a number that goes into 400 evenly. So I try 15, but 15 doesn't go into it evenly. So then I'll try 16, and 16 does go into it evenly 25 times. And 16 and 25 make 41. So the pair of numbers you would want are 16 and 25.